Chiefs got a few things to work out before Patrick Mahomes is back on the field.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
You are Locked On Chiefs, your daily Kansas City Chiefs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom. Welcome back to the next week. Preseason game number 2 in the books. And we're going to break it down for you from a Patrick Mahomes standpoint. What does he need? What does he want? We're brought to you today by our friends over at FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com and play daily dingers to make your free pick of who's hitting a homer in the MLB this season. Right now, there's still a lot of questions. We're just getting incremental information about who's practicing on Monday. We'll go down that here throughout the show. We'll end up later on the topic of how you relieve the pressure from Patrick Mahomes, and that is with the run game that looks even better. That's coming up later in the show. Before that, can Patrick elevate his game and the whole offense's game from within the pocket? That is the key here, and we're going to talk about the chances that that actually happens. And we start with really the fact that should be a huge caution sign for Patrick Mahomes. And this is, I think, part of the scenario, and we're going to talk about who's doing what, and particularly the protection that didn't look great the other night. But here's the hardest part. You are judging the offensive line playing with guys not named Patrick Mahomes. And then that's a whole different other level of timing, of input. Looks like they're going to get Trey back at practice for Monday, so that will help. But that's not everything.
No, and I mean, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at a scenario where it's not Patrick Mahomes. And again, it comes down to, were they in a silent count on some of those plays? Were they doing, were they not in a silent count? How does all that work in? I mean, there's lots of different ins and outs when it comes to offensive line play. And the simple fact is you had 3 of your 5 starters not playing the position that you expect them to be playing during the regular season. And maybe you can't say 3 of 5. Maybe it was only 2 of 5 weren't playing, because we don't know if Khalil Benson is going to be the starter at right tackle or it's going to be Jaylon Moore. Jaylon Moore was at left tackle. Khalil Benson was at right tackle. Or are they going to play Benson at right tackle? We don't know at this point. But there are a lot of injuries to talk about that we need to get into as well. Simmons still isn't practicing. That's a little concerning to me. But again, a big guy with a back issue, why risk it at this point?
Yeah, I mean, and that is part of the problem. Again, having the 5 not out there together is definitely difficult as you're trying to figure out who that 5th is. From what we've seen on film, I'm going to go back to this. Moore didn't play the greatest the other night either against Tampa Bay Bucks. Honestly, most of the offensive line was middling as far as I'm
even
concerned.
Poley didn't play well. I mean, go look at
right.
There were plays that I thought he looked okay, but the level of competition is also something you have to take into account when you're talking about Poley specifically. But then if you pay any attention or you look at the line numbers from PFF, all 3 offensive tackles were horrible.
Yeah, it was not good. And this brings me to the next thing is he has to be careful, because trusting in it to come together is a little bit more far-fetched right now than it has been after any preseason number 2 game in any year of his career. It's the most unsettled it's ever been right now. And I'll tell you, the evaluation is pretty straightforward. And I know Mitch Schwartz has his thoughts. I haven't seen all of his thoughts yet, but I will tell you mine. It is very, very clear to me, as it was the moment camp started, Khalil Benson, as my draft grade said, is a better guard than he is a tackle. It is not close. I thought his guard reps were actually pretty dang good, and I can see his future being there. But Andy Reid even said today he opened the gate a few times, more than a few in my estimation, but that's the problem. That cannot happen from this day forward, and I don't trust it not to. I think Moore's got to be the starter.
It's tough, because the reality is we're only seeing 15 reps, and not even that when we're really talking pass pro. I get what you're saying. I'm not trying to discount it. What I'm saying is they have seen him since the start of camp. They have seen him since OTAs. They have a much deeper understanding of what he can, what he can't do. But here's the other side of it. Even if you're saying that it has to be Moore as the starter, is it that much of an upgrade? Because watching him at left tackle, I'm not so sure it's that big of an upgrade. And if you think Benson can get better, then it's a question of, okay, are you going to put in the guy that's technically better now or the guy that gives you the most upside and potential by the end of the season? Because I don't know that. I mean, those could be two different people.
They might be, and it makes absolutely no difference to me who those people are. You put out the best blocker right now because you have one of the most, if not the most fearsome pass rush in the league in Denver week 1 against Patrick Mahomes, who is obviously recovered very well, but he will be stronger and better the next time they play Denver, not week 1.
And I don't disagree with that, but here's my issue with that. If you're going to do that and you really think that that's the best scenario for Patrick Mahomes, you have him playing those snaps every single day. He's getting those right tackle snaps. That hasn't been what they've been doing. And we have had many discussions about how we have issues with Andy Heck and what he is doing on the offensive line. I have no idea how Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy really feel on it, because Andy Reid isn't the kind of guy that's going to throw a player under the bus, and he's not going to throw his coach under the bus. So you're not going to get that information. And here's the other side of it. Is it Andy Reid that's making the call, or is it Andy Heck? I would imagine it's Andy Heck based on how things have gone in the past. But I don't know how you go into this situation and feel like you put more in the best possible scenario, because he hasn't gotten enough snaps at right tackle. And here's the other side of it. We're talking what, 4 days from the last Chiefs preseason game? Do either of those guys get any more game reps?
Probably not. That's the problem. I mean, maybe you have to at this point because it's been so back and forth. And that is the issue, is they haven't gotten to the point where they've chosen someone. And if that's on Andy Heck, then that's Andy Heck's problem. Andy Heck needs to get out of the way because it's preventing the evolution of this unit on the offensive line. And maybe Mitch is happy with his progress or whatever. Benson is not ready to protect Patrick in the regular season. You're right. We haven't seen all the reps, but we have seen them all against other competition. And that's the key. These teams are coming for you.
Yes, I agree with you. We haven't seen all the reps. We haven't seen it was against other competition. Here's the other thing. I will say this. I'm not trying to defend the kid. I'm not saying that he should or shouldn't be the right tackle, because honestly, I don't know right now. I haven't seen enough. Based on one game, it sure seems like he should not be the starter. But that's one game. Is he going to look different in preseason game number 3 if he even plays? We don't know. And I have plenty of issues with the whole thought process as to how things ended up with Pole last year, and I have no idea what is going on with Pole right now, because there are questions in that regard. But it's not like he played fantastic against the Bucs. So I don't know that you have a great solution right there at right tackle right now, and I think that's the more concerning thing for me, because even if Moore ends up being your guy and you think he can be decent, is he going to be good enough to where you're actually going to feel comfortable with him there? Because I'm not.
They have to put their best foot forward is my point, and maybe they have to do something else. Kayshon Boutte has been traded today, folks. We'll see what else comes down the pike. They also have to be able to have Patrick change what he does in lieu of all this protection problems. What can he do? That's next.
Running a small business means wearing a lot of hats, and payroll, HR, and benefits can quickly become some of the most time-consuming tasks on the list. Gusto helps simplify those responsibilities with one platform designed to make managing a team easier. Gusto is an online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all-in-one, remote-friendly, and incredibly easy to use, so you can pay, hire, onboard, and support your team from anywhere. From automatic payroll tax filing and simple direct deposits to health benefits, 401ks, and built-in onboarding tools, Gusto brings the day-to-day HR tasks together in one place. There are also certified HR experts available to help with those tougher HR situations. Running a small business already means doing a little bit of everything. So the last thing I'd want to spend hours on is figuring out payroll, tax filings, or getting new employees set up. That's why something like Gusto makes sense. It puts those tasks in one place so business owners can spend more time actually running their business. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnfl and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnfl. One more time, gusto.com/lockedonnfl.
Now, when you're dealing with issues, you have to go everywhere. Look for every solution you can find. One of them comes back to the quarterback. And we've been seeing this evolution for Patrick for the last 10 years, folks. This is our 10th season. If you don't know us, this is Chris Clark. I'm Ryan Tracy. Thanks for joining us. The evolution of Patrick has to be a little bit more forced, I think, right now, because it's not what we usually see from him. This isn't like he has to be a little bit more go with the flow, take what they're giving, exploit what's there. He has to force himself, in my opinion, to deal from the pocket. I think that's the best way for him to stay safe, because if he tries to break, especially where he has a little proclivity to break to his right out of the pocket and get out wide, I think this offensive tackle situation sets him up to get hit more. So I don't think that that's the way that he can protect himself the best. So he's got to get to the point where he's surgical and his precision is on, and his short drops, 3s and 5s, especially from under center, are tight and able to get the ball out really quickly. I think Patrick can elevate his game from within the pocket.
I don't disagree with you. My issue with all of this is, let's just put it out there. I don't think there's any possible way he plays week 3, period. I don't see it. But who is going to play in week 3?
You mean?
Yeah, preseason week 3. Sorry, I wasn't clear. Yeah. So what have they done for him this year? Like, this is my problem with their thought process. Like, I get the thought process and I understand where you're coming from if you don't want to see him in the preseason. To me, he hasn't worked with any of his wide receivers in game action. Like, you can say it's game action all you want at practice. It's not. You're not worried about getting hit. You're not worried about anything else. Your clock is a little bit different. And yeah, I know he's played thousands of snaps and he's been there and he's done that. But the problem is you're throwing him to the Wolves week 1. And there is nothing that they can do about it at this point, because I don't think there's any possible way they play him week 3 in the preseason. And without that, he hasn't had any real game reps with Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, Cyrus Allen, and Travis. I mean, obviously, I'm not worried about his connection with Travis Kelce, but you haven't had any real game reps with some of those other guys. Yeah, you can do all that stuff in practice, and it looks like he's got a better connection with Xavier Worthy at times. But when you're not worried about getting hit, you're making throws that you don't necessarily know that you'd be able to get off in a game, and it's not the same scenario. So I don't love the situation that they've got Mahomes in, and he's going to have to elevate it by the pocket. But this is also something that I think we need to talk about in the next segment with relief with the run, about specifically about Benson, because I wonder if that plays into their decision to an extent with the running game and Benson.
It could be. I will say this. I have no concerns. I don't care. I don't think Patrick needs anything in the preseason with anyone but Cyrus Allen. That's the only one that has me a little bit like, I don't know if they're going to hit the ground running, because there is that timing issue. I did see a couple of plays where Cyrus was still trying to get a count or get a line, and the ball's snapping, and he's a little late off the ball. That stuff happens in real games. He won't get the ball.
And I get that, and I'm not saying that that's a huge issue. What I don't know is it's not just Patrick, though, at this point, because you haven't had Rashee Rice out there in real game live scenarios. You haven't had Xavier Worthy out there in real game live scenarios. Are both of those guys back and actually healthy and ready to go? Because if they're not week 1, you're still dealing with a little bit of a different timing issue than you've been dealing with in your past with those guys. And you're going up against one of the best defenses, or what has been one of the best defenses. We'll see if they are this year. One of the best defenses in football against the Broncos, and I just don't think that they're going to be in a good position for it, and that's what worries me.
That doesn't worry me. They've all played together in low stakes, high stakes, doesn't matter. Will it be a little rusty? Probably. Will the first quarter, maybe the first half be a little rusty? Well, it's not a problem. It's not anything crucial to getting a W.
Yeah, I disagree.
As far as I see, the risk about getting any of those guys hurt in the preseason, a meaningless game, is way more prevalent than having a slower start. And honestly, if Patrick's Patrick and they actually run the ball, maybe it's not going to be a slow start at all. I don't know.
Well, and I guess that's my issue is, like, I've watched other teams do what they're doing with the Chiefs right now, and they've come out and they've looked sluggish week 1. And the problem is you have, I think I looked at it the other day, you have 4 regular season, or you have 4 divisional games by week 8. This division, I'm not going to say is locked up, but could be potentially close to locked up by week 8 if you lose multiple of those games, and the Chiefs may not have a chance. And that's a problem. You have to be able to start fast, and I don't think that they're in a position to do so. And I agree with you. Like, I get it. I get the thought process of not having Patrick out there. I just don't love the whole process that this has gone, because the other thing that makes me wonder about this is they've cleared it. They've said they've cleared him for everything. Well, if you've cleared him for everything, having him go out there and take a series where he's doing just a 3 or 5 step drop in preseason game number 2 makes sense to an extent, because then you see he's fully cleared. Is he fully cleared? He's fully cleared to practice. Is he fully cleared for the game? Because that I don't know.
I don't see any distinction there. I just think it's not worth any kind of risk whatsoever. Because cleared or not, brace or not, guys can still get hurt if they take direct contact to that knee. There's true. Just no way around that.
Well, and the other thing is I said this, I can't remember if I said this on Locked On Chiefs or if I said this on the squad show. The other thing that I'm going to be very curious about is, what does Justin Fields do in this game? Because if he doesn't go out there and start and play, a couple of series, then they have questions whether or not Mahomes is actually going to be ready week 1. Because the only reason you sit Fields is because you think that there's a possibility he starts week 1. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, we're going to find out, because that is a whole other discussion that we will have tomorrow about Garrett Nussmeier and what his usage is, what that battle looks like. So stay tuned for all of that. Before we get there, we have to figure out, what can Andy Reid, in particular the running backs, do in order to help and relieve some of that pressure on Patrick Mahomes. The key is, be as aggressive as possible. Life gets busy, and figuring out what's for dinner every night can quickly become another thing to do on the to-do list. Home Chef takes the stress out of mealtime by delivering fresh ingredients and easy-to-use recipes that you can follow right to your door. Whether you're looking for eating healthier, saving money on takeout, or just simply spend less time grocery shopping and meal planning, Home Chef makes cooking simple, convenient, and enjoyable. Home Chef has over 30 meal options right now, including calorie conscious and GLP-1 friendly meals. There's something for everybody's schedule and everybody's lifestyle, and people really love it. Home Chef is rated number 1 by users for amongst other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. That goes a long way. And when you're short on time, like I am, it is about getting that done and out the door so you can check it off the list and get on to the next thing you're doing. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering our listeners 50% off and free shipping on your first box, plus free dessert for life. Go to homechef.com/lockedonnfl. That's homechef.com/lockedonnfl for 50% off, half of your first box, and free dessert for life at homechef.com/lockedonnfl. Must be an active subscriber to receive your free dessert. I love that we have to have this conversation. This is the type of thing that I've been wanting for years, in that Andy Reid himself finally seems to have come around. Now, maybe this is all an illusion. I'm just going to be super, super angry in a couple of weeks. But it seems that he has bought into the fact that in order to protect the quarterback and make the offense run, you have to dedicate time and effort to the run game. That's all great. He has been known to, at times, ramp up the play call for the run. I think he's capable of doing that. He's a little bit rosy about what he's done in the past, calling it, we're usually 60-40. You ain't close to that, Coach. I hate to tell you. But in the idea that he wants to be, that's great. The bigger thing is, they have to be more physical in doing it, because they've been a little bit too much of a finesse team, in my opinion, to make the most out of when they do run.
And semantics is what I would say on Andy Reid saying it's 60-40, because he thinks he is, because he's using some of those shorter pass things and he's calling those running plays. And I understand they're not, and I get where you're coming from on it, but that's how he looks at it. And if that's how he looks at it, I mean, that's going to be what it is. The one thing I will say, and this is kind of goes back to what I hearkened to the last segment, is I wonder if they're looking at Benson for the simple fact that they feel like he's a much better fit for them and what they want to do in the running game. He has more power, and they want to be able to focus on that. They want to be able to use that, because I do think that at least the first week, if not more, they're going to have to focus on running the ball. And I would be just fine, and I know you're going to fall out of your chair, I would be just fine if there was more runs by a running back. Let me be clear. By a running back, right, or wide receiver, even I will give them that. That's fine if they want to use the wide receivers and that, whatever. But I would be okay if they have more actually designed runs than they have designed passes, because against the Denver Broncos, you want to protect Mahomes the best you possibly can, And the thing you should be looking at for those 3 to 5 step drops where he is throwing the ball almost immediately, run the ball, get the ball out so they don't have a chance to hit him much.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, folks, we know we're talking about the Broncos here because game number 3 is about evaluating the rest of the young talent. It's not about your starters. We will preview the game later in the week because we need to talk about who's got a chance for the roster, etc. But this is really about prepping for the Denver Broncos in the first game in the division. And that all comes down to how you go about getting ready for it. And you have a very good point. Khalil Benson is a drastically better run blocker right now than he is a pass blocker. And that is true of his college film as well. And if this were Pittsburgh and they were going to run, and play action, I would tell you that's great. You could afford to go with him. But we know this isn't. This is going to be a pass, run if we have to, know? Pass.
Do we know? Because I don't at this point.
We do. We do.
We know what Andy Reid has done in the past, sure. But
if you know what he's done in the past, you know what he's going to do in the future. It's how long does the middle part last?
I disagree with you on that just because they have never had a running back like what they have right now. And we've never seen him in a scenario where Patrick Mahomes is coming back from this type of injury either, or anything close to this type of injury. So to me, it's a question of, does he think that Mahomes can do things? Yeah, I'm sure he does. But does he want to protect him? Because the way you protect him is you run the ball 50% of the time and you do 3 and 5 step drops and you don't take any deep shots week 1. And if you can get to the point where Mahomes only gets hit 3 or 4 times in the Bronco game and doesn't take a sack, you're doing fantastic, even if you end up losing the game. And I hate saying it that way, but the reality is the bigger thing is you have to keep him healthy. And you can't do that if he's going to continue doing the other things that the longer plays ask him to do, because you're just not going to put yourself in a good scenario. So you need to be running the ball on first and second down at least 40 to 50% of the time, so you can try to get into the second and third and short type situations. And I think Kenneth Walker gives you the ability to do that. But I also think Benson gives them a better opportunity to run the ball better because of his power and his ability to take on different people. So I kind of see it from that aspect of, are they looking at this kind of trying to figure out? Because the one thing that you will say about the Chiefs offensive line, they've never been power-based. Going with Jaylon Moore, in my mind, shows that they would be going more of a non-power-based offensive line. They have some guys that are power-based on their offensive line now, and do they continue to use it is going to be the big question. Because I will also say this, if you start Benson, you can hide him to an extent. You can use tight ends, you can use running backs, you can change your offense to an extent to hide him against the Broncos. I don't know that they will. I don't know who's going to be the starter. We will be talking about that a little bit more on the overtime show later. But I just, that's what I look at this as, is like they seem to have changed their thought process and their focus. They haven't focused on the running game ever when they've been in Kansas City. But I'm sorry, you can't tell me that Andy Reid goes out and signs a $15 million running back and they don't plan on using him. And I'm not saying making the wheels fall off, but I can't see them going into this game and Walker doesn't get 20 to 25 touches of some sort.
You are far more optimistic than I am. I hope you're right. That's what I have my fingers crossed for. If you are, then the question becomes how long can it sustain? Because my guess is by the time we hit the bye and we're back from that, it looks like the old Chiefs offense. I hope that's
fine with me.
It's not fine with me. That's the whole point. Is this has to be a systemic change, and if Andy Reid is really buying what he's selling, that is have to be the core of what this team is, their identity. It cannot be a part-time fix, because if you do that, you will get away from protecting your most valuable asset.
Yeah, but by the bye week, I think Mahomes is going to have shown that he is either 100% back or he's 80% back or 90% back, and you're going to have an idea of where he really is. Right now, I because he's gotten no game reps and you haven't seen him out there doing things and having to worry about people hitting him, we still don't know where Mahomes is. And I don't want to see him in a scenario where he has to run much. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen and he doesn't try to do those things, even though I know that's Mahomes and he will do those things. But you're also in a scenario where Andy Reid's going to be Andy Reid. I'm not saying that I expect him to be changed for the entire season, but I do think that he's going to change early on, and he's going to find out what he really has before you get to a scenario where maybe it's not the bye week. Maybe it's even further down the road. but Mahomes is going to have to take this offense again on his shoulders, just because that's who he is as a player, and that's what you expect of him. Yeah, you can put a lot on Walker. Yeah, you can put a lot on probably Emmett Johnson and DeMarcado as well, but you're still going to have to throw the ball, and you're still going to have to attack in the passing game, because at some point defenses are going to shift. If you run the ball, you're going to get more safeties dropping in the box, and then they're going to force you to try to do stuff down the field.
I hope that they do. My problem is,
how crazy is that if they actually if they challenge Mahomes to do stuff down the field?
Yeah, that would be roulette, which I will take every single time. I am just concerned that because he comes back and he's 100%, he can do the things on the field, that they feel that he's 100% healthy, and that is not going to be the case at all this season. Period.
Right.
There is no way for that. That's what I'm concerned about. The protection factor built into the offense has to last the entire season to keep him from re-injuring or taking any chance at a stray hit or anything like that. That's where the concern lies.
But that's also partially on him.
Yeah.
Like, he has to do it himself. Like, absolutely. Andy Reid can only do so much, but Mahomes has to be willing to do it himself too.
He certainly does. What do you guys think? Let us know with your comments here on YouTube. We would very much appreciate it, because we are getting ready for what is the culmination of the preseason here. And I personally am ready for it. I've had enough of this. I'm ready to get on to regular ball games. We're going to go through not only the rest of our preseason talks, we're going to do some position battles this week before we get to a 53-man preview next week. Man, Derek will join us as we always do. Make sure you're here with us. We'd very much appreciate your thoughts and insights. You may even see a live show from us at some point this week, so make sure you join us there. Bring your questions as well. Thanks for being with us today, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.